if you want to solve this multiplication, we need to apply the rules of exponents. But first, we have to keep in mind these two rules. The first one is when you have a variable raised to any power, for example, n, and then you multiply by the same variable but with different exponents, for example m, the result will be use the same base raised to n plus m. And another rule to keep in mind is when you have a variable, for example x, raised to an exponent, for example n, raised again to another exponent, for example m, the answer will be write again the same base, there is x, raised to the multiplication of n times m. As you can see, these two rules are similar, but at the end they are different. The first one is when you have a multiplication using the same base, and the second one is when you have an exponent raised to another exponent. Another important thing to say is when you don't see an exponent, we assume that is raised to the first power. So I put 1, and it's better to write the 1 to avoid mistakes. And I was forgetting the power of the number that is also a 1. So after to remember all this, we return to the exercise, and the first factor, we don't have to do anything, so we keep the same number and variables. And also, if you don't see a sign at the beginning of the expression, it means that is a plus. Now, working with the second factor, we can see that outside the parentheses we have an exponent, but inside the parentheses we have 3 factors, each one with another exponent. It means that we need to use the second property. So I start with the parentheses, then I write the number 3 raised to the power of, if we have an exponent raised to another exponent, I need to multiply 1 times 2. In this case, always in multiplication, we need to start with law of signs. So if you don't see any sign, means both are positive. So plus times plus equals plus. Then 1 times 2 equals 2. The next factor is x raised to the power of 5 times 2. But first the signs. So plus times plus equals plus. 5 times 2 equals 10. And finally, the factor y raised to the power of plus 1 times plus 2 equals plus 2. We close the parentheses. Now it's time to combine numbers x and y's because we are multiplying variables with the same base. Always when we need to multiply, we need to start with the signs. So plus times plus equals plus, then the numbers 2 times 3 squared, then the variables starting with x cubed times x to the 10 power, then y squared, and finally again y squared. To multiply numbers, if one of them they have an exponent, first you need to do the operation. It means 3 times 3 equals 9, and then you multiply by 2, that is going to be 18 at the end. Now simplifying x using the first property, we have to put x raised to the power of 3 plus 10. In this case, it's going to be 13. And finally, using the same idea, we have to write y raised to the power of 2 plus 2 equals 4. And this is how we get the answer of this product